This is good. This is a. If you were listening yesterday at this time, we had some good eating, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
It was some soul food on yesterday's program. It was good for the soul, and it was on Jeantel
and her tweets, which were moving.
Mr. As Ho, and we found out some new information about her. In fact, let's start there before we get to the beauty pageant. We have new information on this. Is the friend of Trayvon Martin, and she's pretty discredited now. Her tweets were full of all kinds of stuff. You know, Trayvon was made into this saint. He was not. That doesn't mean that he was guilty. It just means let's deal in truths here. He was not a saint. In his friends, I mean, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. She deleted about 40 of her 200 tweets because they were really nasty. I got to get me some smoke. And anybody who's coming after her is Mr. As Ho. And then yesterday we told you that we found out that she was on the stand, and ABC said it was a very uncomfortable moment. She supposedly wrote this letter to Trayvon's mother saying, you know, I was on the phone with him and I know what happened. And I heard it all. But when asked to read it on the stand, she couldn't. And the prosecutor said, why not? And she said, well, I can't read cursive handwriting. Now, she had already testified that was her letter. She wrote it. Can you write cursively but not read it? How does that work out? It wasn't her letter. She didn't write it.
Then there was a whole thing about her speaking a different language, so she didn't understand or something the questions, and so the lawyer went through this whole long thing about you spoke English in school, right? You're speaking English now, right? You're understanding the English that's coming out of my mouth now, and he went through this whole thing because he was trying to get to her not understanding the word cracker, and that being racially charged, and so.
Do you call blacks crackers?
No.
Do you call Hispanics crackers?
No. And by the way, he is Hispanic.
Yeah, I know. Well, he was made a white man.
Yes.
He was bumped up because no Hispanic could do that.
Right.
He has to be a white man.
Yes.
He's got white in him someplace.
Yes.
So he's a white man. But you call him a cracker.
But nobody calls the president a white man, by the way, who has the same amount of white in him as George Zimmerman. But you can't call the president white.
Let's call him a cracker.
You can't do that.
Why not?
No, because
she says no. But I got from Jeantel.
But yeah, I know that it's not racial.
Yeah.
Here's that line of questioning yesterday.
Trayvon Martin saying creepy ass cracker and using the N-word. That people speak like that in your culture. Did you hear that?
Yes, sir.
Well, what culture is that where people describe other people as creepy-ass crackers?
A pervert. A pervert.
By the way, I never heard that excuse for Paula Deen. Did you? Did you ever hear? Oh, it's just her culture.
It's just her culture.
That's just her culture.
No, in fact,
culture.
When I said,
are you kidding me?
When I talked about the white culture, that's what they tried to nail me.
Oh, what culture is it?
What culture is that? Now there's a black culture?
Now there's a black culture. And by the way, it's the same culture, apparently, that the president spoke of in Dreams from My Father, where he mentioned the white culture over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean by the culture that you were raised in, the culture that you live in?
I was raised in, you're trying to say?
Right. I'll say it this way. Do people that you live around and with call white people creepy-ass crackers?
Not creepy, but cracker, yeah.
So the creepy is the pervert part that you were talking about?
Yeah.
So forget that for a second. You're saying that in the culture that you live in your community, people there call white people crackers.
Yes, sir.
And do they use the N word regularly?
Yes, sir.
and you're saying, so did Trayvon Martin.
Hello.
Trayvon Martin referred to white people as crackers. Correct?
Why is this hard to say if it's just part of your culture?
I don't know.
If it's not
Correct.
a problem. Hello.
Jeantel?
Mr. Asshole.
You
I don't
there?
recall, sir.
Oh, now she doesn't recall. Now she doesn't recall.
Now look at this. Listen to that. Listen to that. Listen to this logic here.
It's amazing.
Cracker is not a problem. It's just part of my culture.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a problem. It's not racist. That's what she said. It's not a racial slur. It's not racist. It's part of my culture. Okay. So you're saying that what kind of culture is that? This is that creepy crackers. Well, it's a repulsive one. It's a repulsive one. Yes. So you're saying that your culture uses creepy cracker, and you're saying that's repulsive. Well, not creepy. So it's the creepy part that is repulsive to you. Yes. So you say in your culture, everybody uses cracker, and that's not repulsive. And you've already testified that that's not racist. Yes. And people say that in your culture, crackers. They call white people crackers. Yes. So Trayvon used the word cracker.
I don't remember.
She knows.
I don't recall.
She knows that everything she's saying is a lie.
Yeah. She's really not credible. This is really, I would think this is pretty bad for the prosecution.
And what's amazing is we're being hammered because we are smearing her. We're smearing her? How are we smearing her? We're playing her audio. How is that a smear?
And yesterday, we read her tweets. Word for
How
word.
is that a smear?
If
we
that's
think
a
it's
smear,
pretty
she
entertaining.
smeared herself.
Yeah, we find it pretty entertaining that somebody actually refers. We're going to use it in our culture. What culture is that? The Glenn and Pat culture. Are you saying that you and Glenn and Pat culture use Mr. As-ho? Yes.
Yes.
We do now.
Yes, we do. We don't say creepy as-ho, unless you're a pervert. But we say as-ho all the time because it's just part of our culture. Now we do.
It's officially part of the Glenn and Pat
It's a new culture, but it's a new,
Are you saying that a new culture is
any kind of inferior to an old culture?
No.
Not me.
Not.
No.
Old dusty cultures that don't use Mr. As-ho.
New cultures are better than old cultures, aren't they?
Always.
Or more enlightened.
Right. This culture is being influenced by Twitter.
Yeah.
And Facebook.
And Instagram. And other
it's so much better.
Hip things kids nowadays are using.
Right. Mr. As-ho. I need me some drink and some smoke.
I wish the right would start using the excuses of the left. If Paula Deen would have only said, look, that's our culture. That's just part of the culture.
And you know what? She could have.
She could have.
That is part of the culture. A really bad part of the culture, but
it's
part of the
part
culture.
of the culture.
Right. Just part of the culture. You don't need that to be racist. Look, here's the thing. You don't need that to be racist. Why is it one culture can use that word and another culture can't use that word?
Doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense. She should be demonized just as much as Paula Deen. Trayvon Martin, he uses the N-word. You got him on tape using it. Hello. Why isn't he being demonized? Oh, well, he's dead. He's dead. Okay. That's separate and apart from the crime.
And it apparently is a crime now because we're destroying people's lives for using that word.
No, that's separate and apart. I want to make sure. You prosecute people who you like. I mean, for instance, Marco Rubio. Mm-hmm. Marco Rubio, we're thrown under the bus every day. Jeff Flake throwing him under the bus. Marco, you're on the wrong side. Okay, well, he's your friend. No, you don't deal that way. You stand for certain principles. And Trayvon Martin, we're trying to find out, was he killed in cold blood? What happened there? That's totally separate from who was he. It doesn't matter if he was a dirtbag. If he was a dirtbag selling cocaine on the streets and saying, hey, I've got pockets full of kiddie porn, you still don't allow somebody to shoot him on the streets in cold blood. And the person who shot the kiddie porn cocaine salesman should go to jail. Now, Trayvon Martin isn't a kiddie porn cocaine salesman. He used the N-word. So let's put him into perspective on who he was. He's not just some kid like, well, I don't know, because maybe we should check into what happens in the president's family. Does he live in the same culture that uses cracker and the N-word? Because he said Trayvon could be his son. So is that your culture too, Mr. President? Because I don't think it is, but maybe it is. Maybe it is. I mean, you were with Jeremiah Wright, so maybe it is. But
that's certainly part of his culture.
That's a culture that we should be getting away from, isn't it? That's a culture we should be getting away from. That's a culture that is destroying people like Paula Deen for engaging in that culture 20 years ago. And yet, we're smearing Jeantel. No, we're not. We're playing her words and showing you what her culture is. And if you don't like looking at the transparency and seeing what your culture is, well, then maybe you got a problem. And that's what this attorney did. He didn't bully her. He made her look into the water. He made her look into the mirror. When you look yourself in the mirror and you are forced to then, and you can't just cry out racist and try to shut people down that way. When you're in court and you're under oath and you have to answer the questions, well, that's just part of our culture. That's not racist. Well, now that's subject. That's subject to opinion, I guess. Some people might actually believe that's not race motivated. You're fooling yourself. But you can still get away with that. But when you actually have to go down and look at the mirror and you've looked at your culture and then you're having to weigh in your head, what does that mean in this court of law? What does that mean for the beloved Trayvon Martin? What will that mean if I then say, yes, Trayvon was part of that culture. He did say that thing. She knows. She knows the life she's living is a lie. She knows that her culture is the underbelly of what culture should be. She knows it. Otherwise, she would have been proud to answer that question, but she wasn't. Even though she was being interrogated by Mr. As Ho. I got to get me some drink and smoke, so let me quick do a commercial here.